Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News, joined by Alex Krassyuk. We're here in Wroclaw, Poland, ahead of Oleksandr Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. Alex, how are you?
Hi Rob. I'm okay. Ask me this question on Sunday morning, please.
Now, this is something of a rarity for Oleksandr Usyk. He's not, I know he's not boxing in Ukraine for obvious reasons, but he is the home fighter. Tell me why it was so important to get Oleksandr Usyk a homecoming of sorts.
Because he's missing it. He's been out of his home for so many years. He started in 2016 when he defeated Krzysztof Glowacki here in Poland, winning the WBO cruiserweight title, and since that time he never fought at home. At some point when you are that high, you have to enjoy it. And this is a great party for him. He's enjoying this energy of support of his countrymates, especially in the difficult times of our country is suffering now. Today we have the Independence Day, and I'm pretty sure that Usyk will devote his victory to his country.
Just on Oleksandr Usyk, of course, there's been the events of the war in Ukraine, but of course, there's also been Oleksandr Usyk's career, certainly as a cruiserweight and now as a heavyweight, where he has become a global star. He's not just a star in the Ukraine, part of the kind of globe-trotting experience that he's done has become a universal household name. But in Ukraine, particularly with everything that's going on, and particularly on the back of those two wins against Anthony Joshua, just how big of a deal is Oleksandr Usyk at the minute?
He's a national hero. He's an icon. And that's not just because of boxing. That's because this guy is conducting some very serious things inside Ukraine. His foundation is helping people, is helping militaries. He himself stays in touch on a day-to-day basis with guys, with soldiers on the front line. Several weeks ago, before the training camp, he visited the front line in Bakhmut and stayed several nights there with the guys, with the militaries, suffering the shelling, and it was a real war. He was in a center. It wasn't a movie, and he does that not for publicity, because it became public only for some people saw him and made some videos of him. He does it because it comes from the bottom of his heart. He has to do it because he feels it's his obligation to support the guys on the front line, to help them with all his means.
Now, we had a presentation today for people who didn't watch the press conference. Just explain what that presentation was.
That was a presentation of an icon that was painted on a wooden board from the armor shields, the box that was used for the armor with the fighters, by the soldiers on the front line in Bakhmut, the ones who he attended several weeks ago. And that was painted by an outstanding Ukrainian icon artist whose paintings are kept by the Pope, by the King, Swedish King, by the President Duda, the President of Poland. So an absolutely great piece of art. And the guys from the front line, they wanted to deliver it to Usyk because they know how much it means, the icon of the Godmother, how much it means for him, and that was a very sensitive moment for Usyk.
Now, this fight comes about 12 months after his last fight against Anthony Joshua, of course, over in Saudi Arabia. It's, a pattern that has emerged late on in Usyk's career, when he's got to what we call the business end of his career, when the money starts to go up and he has these big fights. It's only his fifth fight in the last 5 years. Any reservations, any concerns, any frustrations as a promoter for that?
I'll be honest with you, we've gone through some hard times with him. We started together in 2013, and we had ups and downs in our relationships. But now, where we are, it's the result of our mutual efforts. It means that whatever we do leads us to success. And when you realize this, that each section of work has to be covered by a specialist, you become a team. And at some point, we became a team, and we became extremely solid as a team. That's what I can say. And Usyk became a very wise man recently. I mean, within last several years, after he became, probably after he became the heavyweight, when some real money jumped in. Normally, money spoils people. Usyk is completely opposite.
You mentioned that he's become wiser. How much wiser has he become after the last 12 to 18 months or so with the Tyson Fury talks and the public this and the ducking that? And how difficult has that been for the team to kind of stay on track?
Tyson Fury is not an issue neither for him nor for us. I mean, the much bigger issue is what's happening at home. This is what changes our mindset, what changes our mentality, has already changed our mentality. People of Ukraine will never be the same again, and including us. Tyson is doing what he has to do. I mean, he's a champion, he's a fighter, he chooses who he wants to fight, who is scared or not scared, or he just doesn't want to fight. But deep in my heart, I have this expectation that the fight has to happen. I tell you why, because the whole world wants to see it, including myself.
You mentioned there about it not just changing Oleksandr, but changing your outlook on things. You know, we've spoken over the course of the period of time where the invasion has been going on. How has it changed you, both business-wise and personally?
Well, you have money, you have shelter, you have your kids with you, you have your family. It seems to be good, but you feel homeless. You feel homeless. You can't be normal when some rude things happening at home. Thanks God, the region where my parents coming from, there was no war, no real war. But it doesn't mean you feel relaxed, because the whole country feels this pressure. Yeah, we changed, but we had to accept it. We had to live with it. Otherwise, you become too frustrated and too stressed, and you cannot conduct a day-to-day life. So, what doesn't kill us make us stronger. That's a very wise saying, I can admit now.
This Saturday, Daniel Dubois comes in. I've just spoken to him. He says he insists, he's no fear, he's going to come, he's going to let his hands go. You know, heavyweight boxing particularly, I mean, you only have to go back to Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, where people are talking about Joshua Wilder. People this week are talking about Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. How important is it that Oleksandr Usyk doesn't overlook Daniel Dubois, who is a young, hungry heavyweight who can punch hard with both hands?
Rob, you know, I've been working with Usyk since his first fight in professionals. I never seen him overlooking any of his opponents. It's always straight to the plan. Stick to the plan. It's always disciplined. He has the skills. He has this talent, but he works so hard that this talent is just a small piece of his advantage. Everything else comes from the hard work. That's because he's a hard worker. He achieves result. He achieves success. And overlooking Daniel Dubois would not be a very smart thing to do. As you mentioned, he's young, he's strong, he's motivated. That's true. And he has nothing to lose. He has absolutely nothing to lose. It means that this guy will jump into the ring with no mental pressure, and he will try his best. But the bad news for him is that he's facing Oleksandr Usyk, who will have to knock him out. Unfortunately for him, but this is the business, and this is how it works. I mean, Usyk respects his opponent. There is no disrespect, and his job, his obligation is to win. And if it comes with inside the distance, he has to accomplish it. That's why we cannot overlook anyone, especially a guy like Daniel Dubois, and we're definitely not doing this.
What are you expecting from Daniel Dubois on Saturday night?
I'm expecting that he will be knocked out in the second round.
That early?
You know, sometimes I give some predictions. You know it.
Just mentioning about the fight on Saturday night and the fact that we are here in Wroclaw.
1 second. This is not a prediction. This is what I would love Usyk to have on Saturday night. But this is not a prediction. Just keep it like promoter talks.
Okay. How many expected in? How many fans there? And what kind of atmosphere? I mean, unfortunately, Alex, I have to fly home on Saturday morning, so I won't be there.
You're kidding.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to get back for that.
Absolutely respect. I do understand what you mean.
But I will be watching from home, and I'm sure I'll be able to listen and feel the atmosphere. But for those
TNT
in the
Box
arena,
Sports Office?
TNT Sports Box Office, you can get. I'm not going to do the Frank Warren sales pitch where he shouts into the camera. That's definitely not me. But what type of atmosphere are you expecting? Do you expect the atmosphere to, first of all, bring out the best in Oleksandr Usyk, and second of all, do you expect Daniel Dubois to be intimidated?
Difficult question. Ask me this question Sunday morning. I will get an exact answer for you, a very precise one. We expect a significant crowd. It's definitely going to be over 30,000 people, which is an absolute record for Poland, for boxing in Poland. Many of them Ukrainians. City of Wroclaw, every third citizen is Ukrainian. Many of them been living here for, 10, 15 years already. So I think we expect some support for Usyk.
I spoke to Frank Warren, and he said that no matter the outcome of Saturday night, that there will be an undisputed heavyweight title fight next. Can we read anything into that? What's your version of events?
We've been hearing that for some certain amount of time. I can tell you from my side, we will do whatever needed to make it happen. We proved it in the past, and we're going to be proving it in the future. Since Usyk wins on Saturday night, our next step has to make this big fight happen. Not because we want to beat anyone, because we want to be a part of this big, huge, absolutely huge heavyweight performance. If Tyson Fury is ready, he has to give his consent. I mean, it's very easy. If he gives, then we have a fight. If he doesn't, then we'll have to go through something else and still on our way to the undisputed. But undisputed is over here.
Frank Warren's here, of course. George Warren as well. Will there be any conversations this week about that? Have there been any? I mean, I saw Carl Frampton's interview that he did with you two, and I think it's fair to say that Oleksandr wants to focus on this fight, but your job as a promoter always has to look for what happens next. Will there be any further discussions?
I have to. That's my job. I tell you something. These discussions never stopped. So they are in progress all the time. Once Usyk keeps 3 belts and Tyson keeps 1, and we are their promoters, we have to be in touch. But it doesn't bring much result, unfortunately.
What do you see as the biggest hold-up from that fight happening?
I can't say it on camera. I have to be polite.
Moving ahead, Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. I haven't spoke to you about that fight. What do you make of that?
Did you see a performance? Man with a curly hair, with red lips, with a red round nose, juggling and balancing on a board. That's not the show. That's not the one. This is circus, and this is exhibition fight between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. They are not the same.
Would we ever see Oleksandr Usyk do anything like that, do you think?
Maybe when he becomes old, when he retires, he might be doing it, but at this moment I don't feel like Oleksandr Usyk is doing that kind of thing. That's, it's a different mentality. He's coming from Crimea. He was born in 1987, I suggest. 1987, right. After 4 years, when he was 4 years, Soviet Union collapsed, and the whole Ukraine was like surviving, including myself. We were surviving. We were living in some kind of neighborhood, no money. So our parents worked really hard to make the living, and that was actually our normal life. And when you are coming from nowhere, you have the different mentality. I mean, when you achieve some success, you see things different. You treat money absolutely different. When you get this money already, you are satisfied because being a kid, you were satisfied with almost nothing. Now, when you have enough, you're still satisfied with almost nothing because it's not about money. It's about different values. And Usyk is like this. So money is not the biggest value for him. It has its value, but definitely not the number one, number two, and number three. His number one thing is to achieve a goal of his life. He's like a warrior, you know? He has to go his way. And he does it his way, the way he sees it, no matter what happens. You know the difference between the leader, now we talk about politics a little bit. The difference between a democratic president and the leader is that a president who is elected normally satisfies what the crowd wants, and the real leader convinces the crowd to want something special, something extraordinary, something that, and if this leader possesses the high standard mental, high mental standards inside over here, spiritual standards, then he convinces crowd to work for some good things, and that's the real leader. Because if he just comes in, jumps in, and this guy wants to smoke, this guy wants to drink, this guy wants, I don't know, to dance, and he wants to satisfy everyone just to get the vote, it shouldn't work like this. And Oleksandr is the leader. That is his character. That's how he conducts things and he behaves in his life. And when he jumped on let's say on a high pace, yeah, he's a recognized star in boxing, unified heavyweight champion, just one step from the undisputed in 2 divisions. He treats it different, and the difference is that he's working for his aim, his objective, his goal. That's what means for him. If money is in, beautiful. If there's no money, it doesn't change the goal. The goal has to be achieved. That's the mentality, that's the perception of the guy.
Just back to Saturday's fight, a lot of people have drawn comparisons between Daniel Dubois' style and Anthony Joshua's style. Do you see that?
Daniel Dubois having Anthony Joshua's style?
Similar style.
No, not even close to it. Daniel Dubois have already suffered some serious knockdowns and serious beating, already being just 25. He keeps it here in his memory. You can't forget it. You got punched once, cold. You can't forget it. You keep it for a lifetime. So means that he knows how to get hit. On the other side, technical-wise, I wouldn't say that he's 2-3 steps above Anthony Joshua. I would say that AJ, he's the Olympic champion, he's the European, the world champion, and though he had just 45 fights in the amateurs, he hasn't got that huge experience, but he's learning all the time, and that's what makes him different. Some people wrote him off already. I will never agree with this. This guy is learning and he's changing himself. He's working, he's doing the hardest work, the work on himself, improving himself. And Daniel Dubois is yet to come. He's not the elite fighter yet. Once he shows the good performance with Usyk, he can be enrolled. But before that, it's too early. It doesn't mean he doesn't possess the skills or the mentality of a champion. It means that he has to prove it.
Just on Anthony Joshua, is always somebody I'm keen to speak to you about, as obviously sharing 24 rounds of Oleksandr Usyk. You've seen a fair bit of AJ. What do you make of his his two fights since the Oleksandr Usyk loss 12 months ago? He had Jermaine Franklin and, of course, recently late replacement Robert Helenius.
Didn't get the question.
What have you made of his performances since the rematch with Usyk?
Well, it was. Listen, he was injured mentally by Usyk. Usyk ate his heart and then ate his soul. So it was a devastating performance where he dominated. And AJ has his ego, like a warrior. He has this ego, and this ego was suffering. So he has to recuperate his mind. He has to rehabilitate. I mean, he has to repair himself. And that's what he's doing, step by step. You cannot do it like this. So he has to work. That's what he's doing. His first fight performance was not the best, let's say, politely. But this fight with the late replacement was a better one. And he knocked the guy out. I wish he fights Deontay Wilder next, because for me this is an absolutely 50-50 fight. Absolutely 50-50 fight. I wouldn't say Deontay Wilder is just so capable of knocking out. No, he can get knocked out himself easily with this guy, just in the first round. And Joshua improved his technical and conditioning, and I think he have this advantage over Wilder.
Last quick couple from me, because I know there's people waiting to speak to you. Obviously a very popular man around these parts, Alex. Just on the Fury-Usyk negotiations and kind of the saga that's led up to this point, how close, how far away would you say we are?
Imagine you are in the desert. You look around and you see nothing. You see absolutely nothing. And you walk, you still walk, you keep walking because you want to survive. And you are asked the question, how far away are you from a pound with water? And you say, no idea. But suddenly in 10 minutes walk, you find water. This is where we are now in our negotiations. We are trying to find the water pond.
Okay, well, with that being said, I'm going to ask you for something that I asked you about when we were in Saudi Arabia 12 months ago. You've never let me down on these, Alex. I want you to look into that camera right there. And Tyson Fury, who loves watching Boxing News videos, he watches all of them. I want you to send a message to the Gypsy King down that lens.
My friend, Gypsy King Tyson Fury, you are a well-respected man. You are a champion. You are a celebrity. Your movie is #1 on Netflix for already 8 or 10 days, probably 9. You have to stop doing this. Let's get it done. Just give your consent to the fight and fight for the undisputed.
There we go. Alex Krassyuk, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing News. Look forward to catching up with you soon.